Chapter 16. Candide and his valet had already passed the frontiers before it was known that the German Jesuit was dead. So they did get out in time. The wary Cacambo had taken care to fill his satchel with bread, chocolate, ham, fruit, and some bottles of wine. Good measure. They pushed their Andalusian horses forward into a strange country where there were no roads. At length, a beautiful meadow, divided by several streams open to their view, Cacambo suggested that they eat here. "How can you expect me to feast upon ham when I have killed the Baroness's son, am doomed never more to see the beautiful Candide? How will it serve me to prolong a wretched life that might be spent far from her in remorse and despair? And then what will the journal of Trevoux say about all this?" That's Candide, obviously. He says, "How can I eat with you, Cacambo? I've killed a man, I'm never going to see Candide again. Why do I want to live?" And then what would the journal of Trevoux say about this? The journal of Trevoux, founded in 1701, was a Jesuit periodical hostile to Voltaire, the philosophies, and the Enlightenment. So what would the journal say about the actions I've undertaken? While he was making these reflections, he still continued eating. The sun was now... He was eating while he said these things. The sun was now at the point of setting when our two wanderers heard cries which seemed to be uttered by a female voice. They could not tell whether these were cries of grief or joy. Screaming. Are they scared or not? I don't know. But they instantly started up, full of that inquietude and apprehension which a strange place naturally inspires, in case it is dangerous. The cries came from two young women who were tripping stark naked along the meadow, while two monkeys followed close at their heels, biting their backs. Candide was moved to pity. He had learned to shoot while he was among the Bulgarians. He could hit a nut off of a bush without touching a leaf. It's pretty good. That's like the Old West. Accordingly, he took up his double-barreled Spanish rifle, pulled the trigger, and killed the two monkeys. "God be praised, my dear Cacambo. I have rescued two poor creatures from a perilous situation." Did he rescue the women or the monkeys? Surely the women, right? "If I have committed a sin in killing an inquisitor and a Jesuit, I made ample amends by saving the lives of these two distressed girls. Perhaps they are young ladies of rank, and this assistance I have been so happy to give them may gain us great advantages in this country. How's it going to turn out?" He was about to continue when he felt himself struck speechless at seeing the two girls embracing the dead bodies of the monkeys in the tenderest manner, weeping over their bodies, and filling the air with most doleful lamentations. "Really," he said to Cacambo, "I did not expect to see so much generosity of spirit." "Master," replied the knowing valet, "you have made a precious piece of work of it. You've killed the lovers of these two ladies." "They are lovers, Cacambo? You must be joking. It cannot be. I can never believe it." "Dear sir," said Cacambo, "you are surprised by everything. Why do you think it so strange that in some countries monkeys obtain the good graces of ladies?" Wow. What's being said there? "They are 1/4 human, just as I am 1/4 Spanish." The monkeys are 1/4 human? Did he just say that? "Alas," replied Candide, "I remember hearing my master Pangloss say that such things used to happen in former times, and that from these mixtures arose centaurs, fauns, and satyrs, and many of the ancients had seen such monsters, but I took all that for fable. Now you should be convinced," said Cacambo, "that this is very true, and you see what is done with those creatures by people who have not had a proper education. All I am afraid of is that these same ladies will get us in real trouble." So, far from thinking this will get them some help in this country, since they killed the ladies' lovers, who were monkeys, they are now in trouble in this country. These judicious reflections led Candide to leave the meadow and hide in a thicket. There he and Cacambo ate, and after heartily cursing the great Inquisitor, the governor of Buenos Aires, and the Baron, They fell asleep on the ground. First they had to get that in, though. Get in a good cussing. When they awoke, they were surprised to find they could not move. The reason was that the Oreillons, the huge earrings, who inhabit the country, and to whom the ladies had given information of the strangers, had bound them with cords made of tree bark. They saw themselves surrounded by 50 naked Oreillons, armed with bows and arrows, clubs and hatchets of flint, and some were making a fire under a large cauldron. Others were preparing spits, and they were all crying out, "A Jesuit! A Jesuit! We shall be revenged! We shall have excellent cheer! Let's eat this Jesuit! Let's eat him up!" "I told you, master," cried Cacambo mournfully, "these two wenches would play us a dirty trick." Candide, seeing the cauldron and the spits, cried out, "I suppose they are either going to boil or roast us. Ah, what would Pangloss say if he could see how a state of nature is formed?" "Everything is right. It may be so, but I must confess it seems harsh. To have lost dear Miss Cunegonde, and to be spitted like a rabbit by these barbarous Oreillons." Cacambo, who never lost his presence of mind in distress, said to the disconsolate Candide, "Do not despair. I understand a little of the jargon of these people. I will speak to them." "And be sure," said Candide, "you make them aware of the horrid barbarity of boiling and roasting human creatures, and how unchristian such practice is." Ha ha! Not that they didn't see Christians boil and roast on many occasions. "Gentlemen," said Cacambo, "you think perhaps you are going to feast upon a Jesuit. If so, excellent idea. Nothing can be more agreeable to justice than to treat your enemies so. Now, is this fellow a Christian or not? Indeed, the law of nature teaches us to kill our neighbor, and that's why we find this practiced all over the world. And if we do not indulge ourselves in eating human flesh, it is because we have much better food." No other reason. "But for you, who do not have our resources, it is certainly agreed to be much better to feast upon your enemies than to throw their bodies to the crows of the air. Don't let the birds eat them, it's good food. And thus lose all the fruits of your victory." Wow. So he's something about military aggression being basically like cannibalism, or not morally different from the people who do this would be cannibalistic. "But surely, gentlemen, you will not choose to eat your friends. You imagine you are going to roast a Jesuit, but my master is your friend, your defender, and you are going to spit the very man who has been destroying your enemies. As to myself, I am your countryman. This gentleman is my master, and far from being a Jesuit, let me tell you he has just killed one of that order, whose robe he now wears, and that's why you dislike him. To prove that I'm telling the truth, take the robe he has on, and carry it to the first barrier of the Jesuit kingdom, and ask if my master did not kill one of their officers. There will be little or no time lost by this, and you may still keep us to eat, in case you find that I have lied. But if you find that I told the truth, you are too well acquainted with the principles of laws of society, humanity, and justice, not to let us depart unhurt." So he's not a Jesuit. Indeed, he just murdered a Jesuit. That's why he's wearing this suit. No other reason than that. The speech appeared very reasonable to the Oreillons. They sent 2 of their people to inquire into the truth of this affair, who performed the task like men of sense, literally an Aristotelian phrase, or certainly one that I learned from Aristotle, that a man of sense is one who uses the evidence of his senses to go about things. And soon returned with good news for our distressed adventurers. Upon this they were both freed, and those who were so recently going to roast and boil them now showed them all sorts of civilities. And how meaningful is that civility then? Offered them girls, gave them refreshments, led them back to the border of their country, crying all the way in token of joy, "He is no Jesuit! He is no Jesuit!" They loved him for that, for not being a Jesuit. Candide could not help admiring the cause of his deliverance. What men, what